how about when you started working these cases? It almost seems like, especially when you're dealing with victims' families, you get really close with them. Talk about that a little bit.
That's a relationship that few people understand, and it's hardly ever depicted in drama and media drama, Hollywood, and that sort of thing. You really don't see that. It's a very unique relationship. To begin with, we're the ones who knock on the door and give them the bad news. So that's a segment of the job that's very unpleasant, very difficult to do, very difficult to do. But you got to do it, and there's no training in the world that'll help you get better at it. And each one is a little bit different, and you're going to get different reactions. But so after that, and after they get through their grief, which might be a couple hours, it might be a couple of days, you need to go back and talk to them some more, because your family, if you got an unsolved case, that family is the nucleus of your victim's life. They're going to be the hub of data and information, and helping you understand the relationships that the victim had. And that's what's going to end up being key, is what relationships did the victim have, and with who. Who were the exes? Who were the ex-business partners? Who were the people they depended on or trusted or didn't trust? Who had it out for them? Did they have issues with anybody? Those are kind of things where you need to talk to people in the know. And so the family is usually that person or that group of people. And as the case progresses, you're going to hear from them. If you haven't solved the case in 2 or 3 days, a week, they're going to be calling you up. And the one person that stands out in my mind, in my life, is a woman named Frances Wilcox. And her husband was murdered in the office trailer of the business he worked at. He worked at a heavy equipment company. And he was the vice president and part owner of the company. And single gunshot wound to the back of the head, small caliber, no witnesses, and to this day unsolved, by the way, although I think I know who did it. But she was a very sweet woman in her late 50s at the time, and she called every day for the first couple of weeks. What's going on? What have you found? Have you found any suspects? What are the chances to start getting this thing solved? And so I talked to her as candidly as I could. And as time wore on, she called less and less, 1 week, and then every 2 weeks, and then every month. And we would talk a little bit less about the case and a little bit more about our families. My son was born right about that time. So she asked me, how's your son doing, and all this. And we became friends over the years. The murder happened on May 1st, 1986. And for 32 years, she called me on every May 1st, every single May 1st. And she would call, after a few years, she would call up and she'd say, you knew I was calling. Yeah. And we would talk, and we exchanged Christmas cards. I mean, she was a very, very sweet lady. And then a couple of years ago, I didn't get a call on May 1st. And I got a hold of her daughter through Facebook and found out that Frances had passed away. So it was, I felt bad, because that was a case I would love to have closed. Yeah. For her.
Yeah. It seems like you had established a really strong relationship with her friends. When you deal with something like that, and it takes a while, or maybe you never solve a homicide, does that take a toll on you?
Yeah, I think every homicide detective retires with cases that were unsolved. And they probably have one or maybe more than one that kind of sticks in their side, and, God, I wish I could have gotten that one over the hump. And that's mine. That one, the Wilcox case is that one for me. Because part of the reason is I'm pretty sure who was behind it. I could just never prove it.